Get your hands off that casket. You have no right to be here. The woman's voice cut through the funeral home like a blade. Eleanor Vaughn, 60 years old, turned from her husband's closed coffin to face a stranger in black. The stranger was younger, maybe 52, 53, blonde hair pulled tight, eyes like frozen steel. "Excuse me?" Eleanor managed. "You heard me." The woman stepped closer. Two adults flanked her, a man and a woman in their late 20s. They had Robert's jaw, Robert's posture. "Step away from my husband." The funeral director moved toward them. "Ladies, please, this is a place of—" "Stay out of this," the blonde woman snapped. She turned back to Eleanor. "I'm Victoria, Victoria Vaughn, Robert's wife, his real wife." Eleanor felt the floor shift beneath her feet. 38 years of marriage, 38 years of breakfast together, of holidays, of sleeping beside him every night he wasn't traveling for work. "I don't know who you are," Eleanor said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands, "but I've been married to Robert since 1986. Victoria laughed. It wasn't a kind sound. 1986. That's adorable. She opened her purse and pulled out a document. "I married Robert in 1979, 7 years before you, and unlike whatever arrangement you had, I never signed divorce papers." The whispers started immediately. 40 guests, Robert's colleagues, neighbors, Eleanor's own friends, all watching. "She's lying," Eleanor said, but even as the words left her mouth, she saw the document in Victoria's hand, a marriage certificate, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 1979. Victoria smiled. "David, Karen, say hello to your father's mistress."
The young man, David, looked at Eleanor with undisguised contempt. 38 years, and you never figured it out? What kind of lawyer were you? Eleanor's chest tightened. He knew about her career. They knew things. "We know everything about you, Mrs. Vaughn, while my husband pretended to be yours." "Your husband?" Eleanor's voice cracked. "Robert and I have 2 children together. We have 30 years of tax returns filed jointly. We have a marriage that was never dissolved." Victoria stopped directly across from Eleanor, the casket between them like a barrier. "What do you have? A piece of paper from a ceremony that meant nothing. A fraud. A lie." Karen, the daughter, stepped forward. Pretty face, ugly expression. "Dad always said his work trips were exhausting. Now we know why. Keeping up 2 families, 2 homes, 2 lies." The funeral director tried again. "Perhaps we should move this conversation to a private—" "No," Victoria's voice rang out. "Everyone here should know who Eleanor Vaughn really is. For 38 years, she's been sleeping with a married man, my married man, and now she's standing at his funeral, accepting condolences she doesn't deserve, pretending to be a widow when she was never even a wife." Helen, Eleanor's neighbor of 20 years, pushed through the crowd. "That's enough. Eleanor, don't listen to this woman. She's clearly disturbed." "Disturbed?" Victoria reached into her purse again. More documents. "I have photographs, Christmas cards, birthday parties, 30 years of a family Eleanor never knew existed." She threw them onto the casket, photos scattered across the polished surface. Robert smiling with 2 children, Robert at a graduation, Robert holding a baby that wasn't theirs. Eleanor couldn't breathe. "Pick them up." Victoria's command was cold. "Look at them. Look at what your marriage actually was." Eleanor's hands moved without permission. She picked up the nearest photograph. Robert, maybe 20 years younger, standing in front of a house she'd never seen. A little boy on his shoulders, a pregnant Victoria beside him, glowing. The date on the back, summer 1987, 1 year after Eleanor's wedding. "He was with you," Eleanor whispered. While you were playing house in Newton? Yes." Victoria gathered the photos, stacking them with practice efficiency. Every business trip, every conference, every late night at the office. He was with us, with his real family. David pulled out his phone. "Should I call the police, Mom?
Technically, she's trespassing at a private family event. Not yet. Victoria studied Eleanor with something approaching pity. I want her to understand first. I want her to feel what I felt every time Robert left us to go back to her. Eleanor looked at the marriage certificate, still in Victoria's hand. 1979. 7 years before she'd met Robert at that conference in Chicago. 7 years before he'd charmed her with his smile, his stories, his promises. "He told me he'd never been married," Eleanor said. "Of course he did. That's what cheaters say." "I didn't know." "Ignorance isn't innocence, Mrs. Vaughn." Victoria folded the certificate carefully. "You were a corporate lawyer. You did mergers and acquisitions. You're telling me you never did a background check on the man you married?" Eleanor hadn't. She'd trusted him. She'd loved him. "I think," Victoria said slowly. "No." Victoria's smile was razor thin. "This is my husband's funeral, and you are not welcome."
Helen grabbed Eleanor's arm. "Don't you dare leave. This is insane. She can't prove any of this." "She has documents." Eleanor's voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "She has children who look exactly like him. Documents can be forged. Eleanor, you need to fight this." But Eleanor was already moving. Past the whispers, past the stares, past the life she thought she knew. David called after her. "Don't forget to hire a good lawyer. You're going to need one when we contest the estate." Eleanor didn't turn around. The parking lot was too bright. February sun reflecting off dirty snow, blinding and cold. She fumbled for her keys, dropped them, picked them up with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. 38 years. She'd built a life around Robert Vaughn, changed her name for him, put his needs before her career, her friends, her own family. When her mother was dying, she'd cut her visit short because Robert said he needed her home. She sat in her car but didn't start it. Through the funeral home window, she could see Victoria talking to guests, accepting their sympathy, playing the grieving widow, while Eleanor sat alone in a parking lot, trying to remember how to breathe. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "The reading of Robert's will is scheduled for Tuesday, 10 a.m., Whitfield & Associates. Your attendance is requested but not required. Thomas Whitfield, Esquire." Eleanor stared at the message. Robert's attorney, a man she'd met at dinner parties, shared holidays with, trusted. He'd known. He must have known about Victoria, about the other family, about 38 years of lies. Everyone had known, except her. She remembered the night she met him. Chicago, 1985, a legal conference at the Palmer House. Eleanor was 32, junior partner at a Boston firm, the only woman in her department. She'd fought for every case, every promotion, every scrap of respect. Men called her cold, difficult, the kind of woman who'd die alone with her career. Robert was sitting alone at the hotel bar, navy suit, loosened tie, the kind of easy confidence that came from never having to prove himself. He caught her looking and smiled. "Rough day?" he asked. "Rough decade." She hadn't meant to sit down, but she did. He laughed, not at her, with her. It was different. They talked until the bar closed. He was in pharmaceutical sales, he said, regional manager, traveled constantly, never married, never found the right person. She'd believed him. God help her, she'd believed every word. By the end of the conference, she'd given him her number. 3 months later, he proposed. 6 months after that, they were married at Boston City Hall. Simple ceremony, just them and 2 witnesses. "I don't need a big wedding," Robert had said. "I just need you." Eleanor sat in the funeral home parking lot, 38 years older, understanding finally why he'd wanted it small, why he'd insisted on no family, no fuss, no paper trail. Her phone buzzed again. "Helen." "Where are you? I'm coming to find you." Eleanor typed back, "Going home. Need to be alone." "Don't do anything stupid. I'll bring dinner later." Eleanor started the car. The drive to Newton took 40 minutes. She didn't remember any of it.
The house felt different when she walked in. Same furniture, same photographs on the walls, Same smell of the lavender sachets she kept in the closets. But everything had shifted. Every memory was contaminated now. She walked through the living room, touching objects like a stranger in a museum. The armchair where Robert read his newspaper, the side table where he kept his reading glasses, the corner where they'd put the Christmas tree every year since 1987. 1987. The same year as that photograph, Robert with a baby on his shoulders, a pregnant Victoria by his side. Where had he been that Christmas? She tried to remember. A work emergency, maybe? A client crisis that couldn't wait? He'd missed Christmas dinner but made it back for New Year's. She'd forgiven him. She'd always forgiven him. The bedroom was worse. Their bed. His side still unmade from the morning the ambulance came. Heart attack, the doctor said. Massive. He was gone before they reached the hospital. She'd held his hand in the ambulance, told him she loved him, begged him to hold on. Now she wondered if his last thoughts were of her or Victoria, if he'd been relieved that his secret would die with him. On his nightstand, his watch, his wallet, the wedding ring she'd put on his finger in 1986. She picked up the ring, read the inscription inside. E&R. Forever. She threw it across the room. It hit the wall, bounced, rolled under the dresser. She didn't pick it up. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor until the light through the windows turned from white to gold to gray. Helen came at 7 with soup Eleanor did meat.
Helen sat at the kitchen table, watching Eleanor not eat. "You need to call a lawyer," Helen said. "Not tomorrow, tonight." "I was a lawyer, Helen." Eleanor pushed the soup away. "I know what the law says. If her marriage was first and never dissolved, mine was never valid." "That can't be right." "It's exactly right. Massachusetts doesn't recognize bigamous marriages. I was never his wife, not legally." The words tasted like ash. I was his mistress for 38 years. Helen reached across the table, grabbed Eleanor's hand. "You didn't know. Does that matter?" "Of course it matters." Eleanor pulled her hand back. "I prosecuted fraud cases for 30 years. You know what I told juries? Ignorance isn't a defense. You don't get to claim innocence just because you didn't ask the right questions. That's not the same thing, isn't it?" Eleanor stood, walked to the window. The backyard was dark, just the faint glow of snow reflecting the neighbor's porch light. "I was so proud of myself, Helen. Big career, big house, successful husband. I thought I had everything figured out. You did figure it out. You built all of this. I built it on a lie." Helen was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." Eleanor watched her reflection in the glass, a ghost floating over the snow. "You want me to come with you?" "No." Eleanor turned from the window. "I need to do this alone." Helen left at 9. Eleanor sat in the dark kitchen until midnight, thinking about every business trip, every late night, every excuse she'd accepted without question. The coffee maker beeped. She'd forgotten to turn it off. The small red light blinked in the darkness, like an accusation.
Tuesday morning came cold and gray. Eleanor dressed carefully. Navy suit, minimal jewelry, low heels. Armor for battle. Her phone rang at 8:30. Thomas Whitfield. "Mrs. Vaughn, I wanted to speak with you before the reading." "I'm sure you did." Eleanor kept her voice neutral. "How long have you known about Victoria?" Silence. Then, "Robert was my client. I had obligations of confidentiality." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I can give." Whitfield cleared his throat. "I'm calling to prepare you. Victoria and her children will be present today. They've retained their own counsel, and they intend to contest any bequests made to you." "On what grounds?" "Fraud. They're arguing that any gifts Robert made to you were based on a fraudulent marriage, and therefore should revert to his legal estate."
Eleanor almost laughed. His legal estate, meaning Victoria. That's their position, yes. And what's yours? Another pause. My position is that the reading should proceed as scheduled, and that all interested parties should hear the contents of Robert's will before making any decisions. You are being very careful, Thomas. I have to be, Mrs. Vaughn. This situation is unprecedented in my 30 years of practice. I'm sure it is. Eleanor checked her watch. I'll be there at 10. One more thing. Whitfield's voice dropped. Whatever you think you know about Robert's assets, I'd encourage you to wait until you've heard everything. Things may not be as they appear. He hung up before she could ask what he meant. Eleanor stared at her phone. Things may not be as they appear, as if anything about her life could surprise her now.
Whitfield and Associates occupied the top floor of a brownstone in Back Bay. Eleanor had been there dozens of times for dinner parties, for holiday gatherings, for the kind of social events that partners' wives attended. She'd never noticed how cold the marble lobby was. The elevator opened on the 4th floor. Victoria was already there, seated in the waiting area like she owned it. David and Karen flanked her, and a 4th person sat slightly apart. Male, mid-40s, expensive suit, predator's eyes. Their lawyer. Victoria looked up when Eleanor entered. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure either. Eleanor took a seat on the opposite side of the room, 6 feet of Persian rug between them. This is Richard Crane, our attorney. Victoria gestured to the predator. He specializes in estate litigation. Crane smiled without warmth. Mrs. Vaughn, I've read about your career. Impressive. It's a shame you'll be on the losing side of this one. Is that so? Bigamous marriages are void ab initio, from the beginning. You were never Robert's wife, which means you have no spousal rights to his estate. Whatever he gave you during his lifetime is subject to clawback. Eleanor said nothing. Karen leaned forward. The house alone is worth what, $2 million? In the investment accounts? Dad told us about those. You've been living off his money for decades. Karen, Victoria's voice was soft, warning. No, Mom, she needs to hear this. Karen's eyes were bright with anger. You stole our father, you stole our inheritance, and now you're going to give it all back. The door to Whitfield's office opened. We're ready. Eleanor stood, smoothed her jacket, and walked in first. She chose the chair closest to the window. If she was going to lose everything, she wanted to see the sky.
Whitfield's office was oak and leather, old money and older traditions. He sat behind his desk, a thick folder in front of him, reading glasses perched on his nose. Thank you all for coming. He didn't smile. This is an unusual situation, and I want to be clear about procedure. I will read the will in its entirety. Questions will be held until the end. Is that understood? Victoria nodded. Her lawyer, Crane, pulled out a legal pad. Eleanor said nothing. Before I begin, Whitfield continued, I need to address the matter of Robert's legal status. He looked at Victoria. Mrs. Vaughn, you've provided documentation of your 1979 marriage to Robert. I've verified its authenticity. Victoria smiled. Thank you. However, Whitfield turned to Eleanor. Ms. Vaughn, while your 1986 marriage ceremony was indeed legally invalid due to Robert's existing marriage, that has no bearing on the distribution of assets in this room today. Crane leaned forward. What do you mean no bearing? She was never his wife. She has no claim to anything. That's where you're wrong, Mr. Crane. Whitfield opened the folder. The assets in question were never Robert's to begin with. Silence. Victoria smiled, faltered. Excuse me? Robert Vaughn died with a net worth of approximately $47,000, a checking account with $12,000, a savings account with $35,000. That's it. David laughed. That's impossible. The house alone. The house in Newton is owned by Eleanor Vaughn, has been since 1992, when she purchased it with funds from her law firm partnership buyout. Whitfield pulled out a document. The apartment in Back Bay is also owned by Eleanor Vaughn, purchased in 2003. Karen stood up. That's a lie. Dad said. Your father, Whitfield said quietly, said many things that weren't true.
Crane grabbed the documents from Whitfield's hand. His eyes scanned the pages, and Eleanor watched his face go pale. This can't be right. It's entirely right. Whitfield pulled out more papers. Eleanor Vaughn was a senior partner at Morrison & Associates for 23 years. She specialized in corporate mergers and acquisitions. When she retired in 2015, her buyout was valued at $4.7 million. Victoria shook her head. Robert told you what you wanted to hear. Whitfield's voice was not unkind. He told Eleanor what she wanted to hear. That was his gift. Eleanor sat very still. The numbers in front of her were familiar. Her money, her career, her life's work. The investment portfolio, Whitfield continued, approximately $4.2 million, is held in accounts bearing Eleanor Vaughn's name and social security number. The real estate holdings, valued at approximately $3.5 million, are titled solely to Eleanor Vaughn. But the marriage, Crane sputtered. The marriage was fraudulent. Any assets accumulated were accumulated by Eleanor, not Robert. Whitfield removed his glasses. Robert Vaughn earned approximately $140,000 per year as a regional sales manager. He contributed nothing to these accounts, nothing to the real estate, nothing to the investments. Victoria's face had gone white. He paid for everything. He told me he paid for everything. He paid for nothing, Mrs. Vaughn. He had nothing to pay with. The room was silent. Eleanor looked at Victoria, at her children, at the lawyer who had promised them millions. The $6,000 a month, Eleanor said quietly. The money Robert sent you. Where do you think that came from? Victoria didn't answer. It came from me. Eleanor's voice was steady now. Robert told me it was child support for his son from his first marriage, a son who died. I never questioned it. That's not possible, Karen whispered. It's not only possible, it's documented. Whitfield produced bank statements. 38 years of monthly transfers, $2.7 million total, all from accounts funded exclusively by Eleanor Vaughn.
Victoria stood up so fast her chair crashed backward. This is fraud. This is some kind of trick. It's not a trick, Mrs. Vaughn. Whitfield remained calm. It's the truth. Robert Vaughn was a charming man with expensive tastes and no money of his own. He found 2 women willing to support him, and he played you both for nearly 4 decades. He loved me, Victoria's voice cracked. He came home to me. He raised our children. He raised your children with Eleanor's money. Whitfield gathered the documents. Every tuition payment, every car, every vacation. It all came from accounts that Eleanor funded. David grabbed the bank statements, scanning them desperately. There has to be something, some account she doesn't know about. Dad wouldn't leave us with nothing. Your father, Whitfield said, left you exactly what he had to give, $47,000, to be split according to Massachusetts intestacy laws between his legal spouse and his children. That's nothing, Karen was crying now. That's not even a year's rent. Eleanor watched them fall apart, Victoria clutching the arm of her chair, David red-faced and sweating, Karen sobbing into her hands, Crane staring at his legal pad like it had betrayed him. She should feel something, triumph maybe, vindication. She felt hollow. There's one more matter, Whitfield said. He turned to Eleanor. Robert's will contains a personal letter addressed to you. Would you like me to read it aloud or privately? Eleanor looked at Victoria's ruined face, at the children who had called her a thief and a whore. Privately, she stood. I think we're done here. We are not done, Crane found his voice. We'll contest this. We'll prove those assets were marital property. With what evidence, Mr. Crane? Eleanor picked up her purse. I have 30 years of partnership agreements, tax returns, and bank records. What do you have? He didn't answer. Eleanor walked out without looking back. Eleanor sat in her car for 20 minutes before driving home. The letter from Robert was still in her purse, unopened. She wasn't ready. Instead, she drove to her accountant's office. Margaret Chen had handled Eleanor's finances for 15 years. If anyone could give her the full picture, it was Margaret. $2.7 million, Margaret said an hour later, spreadsheets covering her desk. Over 38 years. That's what went to that account. Eleanor stared at the numbers. $6,000 a month, every month, for almost 4 decades. He told me it was child support for a son who died. Margaret shook her head. There was no son, Eleanor. I looked into it when you first told me about the payments. The recipient was Victoria Vaughn. I assumed she was a relative. You never told me. You never asked. Margaret's voice was gentle. And Robert handled that account himself. He said it was a family obligation. I had no reason to question it. $2.7 million. Enough to buy a house. Enough to fund a retirement. Enough to change someone's entire life. Eleanor had given it away without knowing. Month after month, year after year, she'd funded the woman who called her a whore at her husband's funeral. What else? What else did he take? Margaret pulled out more documents. Small amounts. Cash withdrawals mostly. Maybe another $200,000 over the years. He was careful. Never enough to raise red flags. $3 million. Eleanor's voice was flat. He stole $3 million from me. He didn't steal it. Margaret chose her words carefully. You gave it to him. Willingly. Because you trusted him. That was worse. So much worse.
The first call Eleanor made was to her bank. I need to cancel a recurring transfer, she said. Account ending in 4471. $6,000 monthly to Victoria Vaughn. One moment, Mrs. Vaughn. The banker typed something. I see the transfer. When would you like the cancellation to take effect? Immediately. The next scheduled transfer is in 3 days. I can stop that one if you confirm. Stop it. Stop all of them. Eleanor's hand was steady on the phone. And I need a full audit of every transaction Robert Vaughn made on any account bearing my name. There was a pause. That could take several weeks, Mrs. Vaughn. Then start today. She hung up and made more calls. The property manager for the Back Bay apartment, her investment advisor, her insurance company. Every thread that Robert had touched, she pulled. By evening, she had a clearer picture. Robert had been siphoning money for decades, but he'd been smart about it. Small amounts, plausible explanations, just enough to fund his other life without triggering suspicion. The $6,000 a month to Victoria was the biggest leak, but there were others: cash advances, business expenses, gifts that Eleanor never saw. She sat at her kitchen table with a glass of wine and did the math. $3 million, maybe more. That was the price of her trust, the cost of 38 years of believing a lie. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She answered anyway. Hello? You bitch. Victoria's voice was ragged, raw. Eleanor took a sip of wine. It was never your money, Victoria. It was mine. We'll sue. Richard says we can sue for... Sue me for what? For stopping a voluntary gift? Eleanor set down her glass. I suggest you find a job. Good night. She hung up and blocked the number.
Spring came late that year. Eleanor spent March cleaning out Robert's things. His clothes went to Goodwill, his books to the library, his golf clubs to a neighbor who'd always admired them. She kept nothing. April brought lawyers and paperwork. Victoria did try to sue, but Richard Crane dropped the case after 2 months. There was nothing to win. Every asset Eleanor owned had a clear paper trail, and none of it led to Robert. May brought silence. No more calls from Victoria's blocked number. No more letters from Crane's office. The legal threats faded like morning fog. By June, Eleanor had almost convinced herself it was over. She was in the garden when she saw the car, a silver Honda, older model, pulling into her driveway. She didn't recognize it. A woman got out, thinner than before, gray roots showing in blonde hair that had once been perfectly maintained, clothes that looked slept in. Victoria. Eleanor stood slowly, trowel still in her hand, dirt on her knees. She'd been planting tomatoes, something she'd never had time for when Robert was alive. I know you blocked my number, Victoria said. She stopped at the edge of the garden, 10 feet away. I know you don't want to see me. Then why are you here? Victoria's face crumbled. Not the theatrical anger from the funeral, something rawer, realer. Because I have nowhere else to go. Eleanor said nothing. They took the house, the bank.
We couldn't make the payments without the money from Robert. David moved to California and won't return my calls. Karen is living with her boyfriend and there's no room for me. That sounds difficult. I'm asking for help, Eleanor. Victoria's voice broke. I know I have no right. I know what I said to you. But I have nothing left.
Eleanor looked at the woman standing in her driveway, the woman who had humiliated her in front of 40 people, who had called her a mistress, a fraud, a thief. 6 months ago, this moment would have felt like victory. Now it just felt tired. "Come inside," Eleanor said. "I'll make coffee." They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Helen had watched Eleanor not eat soup, the same table where Eleanor had calculated the cost of her trust. Victoria held the coffee cup with both hands, like she was cold despite the June heat. "I didn't know," Victoria said quietly, "about the money, about where it came from. Robert told me he had investments. He said his job paid well. I never questioned it." "Neither did I." Victoria looked up. "You must hate me." "I did." Eleanor took a sip of her coffee. "For about a week. Then I realized something." "What?" "You were as fooled as I was. More, maybe. At least I built my own career, my own money. You built your life around a man who was lying to both of us." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "I loved him. I really did." "So did I too." Eleanor set down her cup. "That's the worst part. We both loved someone who didn't exist. The Robert I knew was fiction. So was yours." They sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a lawnmower started somewhere down the street. "I'm not going to help you," Eleanor said finally. Victoria flinched like she had been slapped. "Not because I'm cruel, not because I want revenge." Eleanor's voice was steady. "Because helping you would mean pretending that what happened at that funeral didn't matter. And it did matter. I was angry. You were vicious. In front of my friends. At my husband's funeral." Eleanor stood. "You called me a whore. You let your children threaten me. You tried to take everything I'd spent my life building." I know. Victoria was crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I believe you." Eleanor walked to the door and opened it. "But sorry doesn't erase it. Nothing does."
Victoria stood slowly. She looked older than 52 now, smaller. "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know." Eleanor held the door open. "But you're resourceful. You survived 38 years believing your husband was faithful. You can survive this." "That's cruel." "No." Eleanor's voice was quiet. "Cruel was what you did to me at that funeral. Cruel was 38 years of lies. This is just the truth, Victoria. You're going to have to build something on your own, the way I did." Victoria walked to the door. She stopped at the threshold, turned back. "If Robert could see us now." "Robert is the reason we're here." Eleanor's jaw tightened. "Don't invoke his name like he was innocent. He destroyed both our lives and died before he had to face any of it. That's not tragedy. That's cowardice." Victoria had no answer for that. She walked to her car. Eleanor watched her go, watched the silver Honda back out of the driveway and disappear down the street. Then she closed the door. The house was quiet. The afternoon sun made patterns on the hardwood floor. Somewhere in the garden, a bird was singing. Eleanor walked back to the kitchen. Her coffee had gone cold. She poured it out and made a fresh cup. The letter from Robert was still in her purse. She'd carried it for 6 months without opening it. His final words, his last explanation. She took it out now, looked at her name written in his handwriting, the same handwriting she'd seen on anniversary cards, grocery lists, love notes left on her pillow. She walked to the sink, picked up the lighter she used for candles, and set the envelope on fire. She didn't need his explanations. She didn't need his apologies. She didn't need anything from Robert Vaughn ever again. The ashes went down the drain.
1 year later, Eleanor sold the house in Newton. Too many memories, too many rooms full of ghosts. She kept the apartment in Back Bay instead. Smaller, simpler. Windows that faced east, so she woke up with the sun. She didn't remarry. She didn't date. Some people thought that was sad, but Eleanor knew better. She'd spent 38 years building her life around a man. Now she was building it around herself. Helen came over every Sunday for coffee. They sat on the small balcony and watched the city wake up. "Do you ever hear from Victoria?" Helen asked one morning. "No." Eleanor set down her cup. "I heard she moved to Florida. One of her kids finally took her in." "That's good, I suppose." Helen was quiet for a moment. "Do you regret not helping her?" Eleanor thought about it, really thought. No. She watched a pigeon land on the railing. "I spent my whole life helping people who didn't deserve it. Robert, his children, apparently, Victoria for 38 years without knowing it." She shook her head. "I'm done being generous to people who see kindness as weakness." "That's not weakness. That's just being human." "Maybe," Eleanor smiled. "But I'm 61 years old, Helen. I've earned the right to be selfish." The pigeon flew away. The sun climbed higher. Eleanor thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, standing at a funeral, being told her marriage was a lie, watching her whole world collapse in front of 40 witnesses. That woman had walked out of that funeral home broken. This woman was not broken. This woman had a home she'd paid for, investments she'd earned, friends she'd chosen, a life that was hers, built on work and intelligence, and 30 years of refusing to be small. Robert had lied to her. Victoria had humiliated her, but neither of them had taken anything that mattered. Eleanor Vaughn finished her coffee, watched the sun rise over Boston, and decided what to plant in her window boxes this spring. It wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was hers.